recording with Kamel at a studio in just on the Commercial Road. It was a very famous studio, but I can't remember the name of it. You know, we took a break and we were playing snooker and stuff, and these girls came out. They were recording some demos in one of the other rooms, and these girls came in the thing and were, flirting with us, because we happened to be a couple of handsome men. You get me? Of course. So and that was basically the end of it, right? And then the Spice Girls things kicked off, and Kamel rang me up and said, "Ain't that the girls that were in the studio, and I went, "Yeah, that's them, right?" So we met the Spice Girls before anything had happened. They were doing their first demos or whatever it was. It's amazing these things are coming out. We're all connected like that.
Great.
Oh, only 6 degrees. Yes.
Yeah.
Question: Were they quite driven? Did they want success and all the trappings? I mean, it sounds from what you were saying in the preparation for the tour that they were quite happy to get out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning, go to bed at midnight, working 15-hour days to make sure it was right, which is a level of dedication I actually didn't expect to hear about them.
They were, John. They were incredibly dedicated. I never heard them say, "Oh, we're going to earn lots of money. We want a Rolls Royce, a mansion, a private jet." There was never talk about the trappings. It was just about, we are in this. And they, as young as they were, really young, early 20s, they really got it that they had an opportunity. And from sharing a house in Maidenhead, where they were first managed by the father and son original managers who Simon Fuller took over from, they got that they had an opportunity, and they were as dedicated and as professional about things as any other artists I've worked with, albeit you have to understand that, really early 20s, they were fun and giggly, but they never, I mean, for Jerry to come to me and say, "I want an extra hour of singing, an extra hour of choreography," I thought, you don't have to do that. You get away with it. I mean, you could just leap up and down in the short skirt on stage, but she didn't want to. She said, "Look, I'm not such a good singer or dancer as the others, and I don't want to be left behind." So, and some of the others had other things that they wanted to do and improve on, and others thought they were very good at what they did and perhaps weren't quite so good. So when I was mixing the audio, one of the other things I had to do was remember that when some of them were going for certain notes, the MD had, because the MD was controlling everything, and he had, of course, his little button where he could fade down, really? fade in the pre-recorded track or note, and then fade back in again. They never knew. Yeah, but very little of that, not much at all. But during rehearsals, it was quite apparent that there were certain things where we thought it's never going to work, and rather than beating them over the head about it and making them feel down, we will just do the quick substitution with the MD on stage live, and that's how it worked.
That's interesting, because I had a friend of mine was one of the backing vocalists. You don't need to put this online, but she was a backing vocalist for Cliff. They had a constant line working, because because Cliff is a really, really good singer, really good, right? This was probably about 15 years ago or so. So, his voice wasn't as strong as it used to be, but they had this constant line working. Dave's gone, where they would do exactly what you just said. Right? Yeah. Notes he couldn't reach anymore, they would just drop it in, and no one would know any different.
Well, because it's so funny how Cliff's not singing anymore.
See what you did there, Boris?
There's a joke there somewhere.
Yeah, but Steve, of course, a lot of bands would be playing to a track or a sympty code. So frankly, unless the singer or the band were playing totally out of whack, and the good bands don't, then it's very easy at the point where you need to do the replacement. It's in and out.
Yes, and no one was any the wiser. I got in touch with the original band I had with the sickle cell thing. Now the guitar player is with and has been for quite some time with Take That, and he's now with Jeff Lynn and stuff. And we were reminiscing, and he was saying exactly that. Because everybody turned up on point, and they were ready to do their shit. But if it was these days, they would be all there with backing tracks and all this kind of stuff, But we had to learn those songs and get them right. We had like 3 days, 2 days actually. First day the band turned up, they'd learned the songs, and then we had to refine them. The second day the backing vocalists were in, and so forth. And on the third day, the artists would be turning up expecting to hear their song the way it was.
The way they recorded it.
Yeah. But now, if that was now, they would be turning up with their backing tracks and stuff, doing exactly what we just talked about.
Yeah, I remember spending 9 nights at Wembley with George Benson, and
let me tell you about George Benson in a minute.
I got talking to his MD in the band after about night number 3, because I'd noticed George used to just turn around to the band and go 5, 72, 81, 104. And the band just went straight into it without even really taking a breath. And it was just staggering to watch. And across the 9 nights, he never played the songs in the same sequence. And I got to talk to him about it afterwards. And I said, well, why, he said, well, I do it for 2 reasons. One, to relieve the boredom. Yeah. If I had to play the same set list every night, I'd just go mad. And he said, secondly, he said, I gauge the audience. If they're ready for Give Me the Night, I'll give them the night. And, but it was fascinating. The whole thing was done by numbers. And I remember Mo Foster last week was talking about how Van Morrison would do the same when Mo was playing bass with Van Morrison's band, and he just, but instead of shouting out a number, he'd just do this behind his back, number 4, number 5.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm glad you brought up the George Benson, because it reminded me, I was at Ronnie Scott's. Ronnie Scott's used to be the place, right? And Breezing had just broken, so it was probably about 77 or something like that, right? And the DJ suddenly went, George Benson's at the bar. And no one flinched because they thought he was joking. So I thought to myself, why would he say that? Right? So I went to the bar and there's George Benson. So I walked up to him, he was good. He was doing this concert at the Albert Hall. And I said, is Harvey Mason with you? He said, yeah, Harvey Mason's with me. I went through all the musicians, said, yeah, this and that and that. Because of course he never expected to see me again. Wrong. So this was the Thursday. I remember it so clearly. And on the Saturday, he was at the Albert Hall. So me and Kamel Hines, bass player with the Central Line, and Kenny Wellington of Light of the World, decided we'd go and see him. So we headed down there. And of course, you couldn't get a ticket. It was completely sold out. Of course, there were the touts. So we got a couple of £2 tickets and we went into the Albert Hall. And of course, it was up in the gods, and the stage is about this big. Actually, it might be smaller, probably about that size. So we went, no, we're not having this. So we shot out and went round to the artist's exit and put on these fake American accents, right? So I had this hat, and I promise you, this is absolutely true. It used to belong to Michael Jackson. I won't go into how I got it, but it's absolutely true. I had this like cap. So we go up to the artist bit, and we're talking, I'm talking, I'm at the front, and I've got this fake American accent. And we're here to see George. And the guy goes, have you got a backstage pass? Have you got a pass? Don't need no pass, man. We're friends with George. And the guy's going, no. So in the end, I said, I tell you what you do, man. You tell George the Cletus was here, and you didn't let him in. and his bottle went. So he said, "Oh, go on then, go on then." So we went in there, and we end up in the green room. And there's all these sandwiches laid out and stuff, and we were pretty hungry, so we tucked in. And here comes the band. And they're like, "Who the fuck are you guys?" Right? Cut long story, we told them the story and they fell about laughing. When it's time to go on, they say, "Come on, follow us." So we ended up sitting in the front row watching George Benson, right? We saw the whole concert, right? And when they finished, Ronnie Foster's going like this. So we came, you know, we went backstage and stuff, and you know, we were sort of chatting away, and I've got George Dalto to sign something for me and all this kind of business, right? And in the kerfuffle, George Dalto got left behind, right? Because all of a sudden they said, "Oh, the limo's leaving and stuff," and I had him signing some stuff for me, and he got left behind because he went out and he came back and said, "No, man, the limo's gone. You know, anybody can give me a lift." And of course, I was the guy. So, right? So I said, "Yeah, man." So we're going. And we're going through, and here comes George Benson. And he looked at me. He said, "I know you, don't I?" I said, "Yeah, you do." Right? Because I still had the same hat on that I met him with a couple of days before. That's my claim to fame with George Benson, man.
Very good.